Legend has it that at the immortal peak, nestled at the very edge of the world, resides a supreme being of chaos. This creature's power and domain are so immense that no one in the heavens can even hope to compare. For tens of thousands of years, this entity roamed the world, committing countless wicked deeds. Because of this, some people worship him as a god, but only out of pure terror. Others simply use his name to scare children who cry at night and refuse to sleep. But he also trained several disciples, like the fearsome demon lord, who dared to challenge the heavens. Another one of his apprentices was the dreaded demon empress of the East. On top of that, there was also the divine empress of the West, with her imposing presence. There was also the mysterious Lady of Reincarnation, always carrying her skull-topped umbrella. And even the leader of the Heavenly Alliance was once one of his disciples. All of these powerful and incredible individuals were trained by a single person, and that incredible and powerful person is me, our protagonist. Right now, we see our hero holding a gigantic meteor with just one hand. He is the master of all these lords and emperors, the supreme chaos lord. And with nothing more than a simple flick, our protagonist sends the massive meteor flying far into the distance. The silver-haired man complains that even if they want to kill him, they shouldn't use such careless attacks. He then sarcastically asks his dear disciples if he isn't right about that. In front of him, a massive fleet of ships and flying dragons stands ready for battle. A soldier reports to the marshal that their homeland has been destroyed by enemy forces. This general is Sukai, and he feels he shouldn't have to personally fight against his own master. A single tear rolls down his face as he acknowledges that his former tutor is truly worthy of the title. Filled with rage, the marshal orders all commanders to kill the demon lord at once. And just like that, the entire army shouts in unison, vowing to kill the lord and protect their lands. Our hero finds this amusing, asking if this is how his student truly desires his power. Just then, a monk appears, telling them to stand down and avoid unnecessary bloodshed. Shukai is completely taken aback by the sudden appearance of the bald man. The monk, Jaya Kang, declares that he'll first make the Lord return the stolen Buddhist treasures. Floating in midair, the protagonist replies that might be a little difficult to do. Turns out he already traded those things with some old geezers for a bag of gold coins. Hearing this, the monk becomes furious and prepares an energy-infused punch to attack his former master. The monk then yells for the Lord to surrender his life and lunges forward with a powerful strike. The blow lands squarely, creating a massive shockwave of swirling energies. Jia Kang is shocked and impressed by the sheer force his own punch unleashed. But the silver-haired man stops the attack with a single finger, stating that physical force won't be enough to kill him. Suddenly, our hero's expression shifts as a purple aura erupts around him. He looks surprised as this strange energy completely envelops him. At that moment, another disciple appears, announcing that her master's life has finally come to an end. This is Yiling, the Lady of Reincarnation, and she's here to drag him to the underworld. The hero just smiles, asking if she's trying to capture his soul directly. Hearing this, Jaya Kang praises the girl and summons a powerful sealing staff. He uses the artifact to trap his former tutor in a large cross of golden light. The Chaos Lord grips the item, remarking on the power his disciple had been hiding. He then mockingly wonders how his master could have possibly been caught. Just then, Li Yilu, the Chaos Demon Lord, appears, demanding they don't harm his body. The girl declares that his body will become her puppet, serving her every single night. The Demon Lord admits she has been saving herself all this time just for her master. Our hero calls her a hammer, but she corrects him, saying her name is Yilu. With a fake smile, he sheds a tear, saying his pupil's thoughts have moved him deeply. He then points out that his other apprentice doesn't look like she plans on leaving his body intact. Qi Zhao, the alliance leader, emerges, stating she gave him countless chances to turn back. But today, for the sake of the world and its people, she must take drastic measures. Surrounded by a powerful aura, the girl declares she will no longer spare his life. This is Qi Xiao, the Lady of the Heavenly Alliance, and a former disciple of the Chaos Lord. The protagonist closes his eyes, seemingly accepting that he's been caught this time. He tells his beloved apprentices to do as they please, for he will not resist. Qi Xiao is taken aback, asking if her master is truly admitting defeat. But the silver-haired man just smirks, telling them it's obviously a trick. He then bids them farewell, announcing he's logging off before vanishing in a flash of blue light. The sealing staff clatters to the ground, leaving everyone shocked by his sudden disappearance. Yilu is disappointed, wondering if they'll ever be able to catch him again in the future. Yilu is confused, asking why she was suddenly called sister. Chi Xiao bursts into tears, equally shocked by what she just heard. Seeing the situation, the other girls try to comfort the weeping young woman. Yilu says she knows she loves their master, but is just too stubborn to admit it. The scene shifts, and we see a guy slumped in a chair, exhausted after gaming for 7 straight days. He is Chu Sheng, and while he's complaining about the game, he only kept playing because of a mysterious prize. A week earlier, a game called Omnipotent Cultivation System popped up on his PC. The game promised that by conquering all the female characters, the player would win a special prize. In the end, he decided to play, but only for the sake of that special reward. The young man has to admit, though, that the girls in the game were really his type and quite beautiful. To win the prize, he became a disciple in the game and did everything he could to win the girls over. In one mission, he lured a monster over just so he could save a girl at the last second. After being saved, the young woman asks if he would accept a girl like her as his companion. But Chu Sheng just yells no, thinking to himself that he's already maxed out her affinity, and it's time to move on to the next one. The girl is left completely shocked by his unexpected response. Her heart is completely broken as Chu Sheng flies off in search of his next target. He stretches and thinks to himself that if he were actually transported there, he'd have died about 800 times already. Without wasting any more time, the young man eagerly prepares to see what his mysterious prize is. He starts to imagine if the prize might be a luxury mansion, or maybe a flashy red supercar. Or perhaps it's something even better, like infinite money so he'd never have to work again. With that, the guy clicks the button, knowing his path to riches depends on this prize. His eyes sparkle with anticipation for what's about to be revealed when he claims the reward, but the prize is actually a one-way trip to the cultivation world of the game. The boy is utterly shocked, completely unable to understand what the hell just happened. The screen explains that he's heading into the game with a golden core cultivation level. Despair washes over his face, and he screams out in pure terror at the news. A portal then opens up on his monitor, and the system warns him to hold on tight. The player screams desperately, saying there's no way he wants to go to that place. His hand is the last thing we see before he's completely sucked into the screen. Finally, the monitor congratulates him on his transmigration and wishes him a good journey of ascension. The story then takes us to the inner court of the Heavenly Alliance, a truly imposing place. As soon as he arrives, our hero feels sick and throws up a strange, colorful liquid. He complains about the nausea, and the system casually mentions that slight spatial disorientation is normal. The young man asks where he is, and the system informs him he's in the court of the Heavenly Alliance. He immediately starts freaking out, blasting the system for dropping him right into such a dangerous place. To return home, he needs to cultivate to the Great Enlightenment stage, which only makes him angrier. Suddenly, he hears guards approaching and panics, knowing he can't be discovered here. With that, the guy quickly scales a wall to hide, because if she finds him, it's all over. He spots a house with a light on and decides to hide there to escape the patrol. Without a second thought, the protagonist leaps through the window and into the room. But upon entering, he comes face to face with a girl who looks like she just got out of the bath. The blue-haired young woman was busy drying herself with a towel, completely unaware of his presence. All of a sudden, their eyes meet, and the girl is stunned by the sudden intrusion. She's completely frozen, unable to process what is happening right now. Our hero also panics, not knowing how to react to this awkward situation. With a grim smile, he bids farewell to his humble life, knowing he's a dead man. The young woman backs away in fear, demanding to know who he is and what he wants here. With a sly grin, he asks if she'd believe him if he said he traveled through time. This girl is senior sister Anran of the Heavenly Alliance, and she's utterly surprised. Just then, a sword floats towards the girl, who prepares to attack the intruder. She grabs the blade and unleashes a powerful strike in the direction of our terrified hero. The girl calls him an imposter and attacks with all her might, while he screams in terror. Desperate, the young man tries to dodge the attack, yelling for them to just talk things out. Seeing he has no choice, he apologizes and tells her not to blame him for what comes next. Then, with his eyes glowing, he lunges toward the surprised young woman. He manages to get close and grab her forcefully, leaving the girl in complete shock. In the heat of the moment, his hand accidentally grabs onto the very towel she was using to cover herself. He then uses the towel to deflect the sword's blow and defend himself from the attack. The girl is incredibly embarrassed and screams in anger, calling the young man an imposter. Our hero, on the other hand, just flashes a mischievous grin at the whole situation. The protagonist holds up the towel, challenging her to make a move against him now. But the blue-haired girl grips her sword tightly and unleashes a powerful water aura. With a furious glare, she unleashes immense power and attacks the young man with everything she has. The guy is startled, recognizing the technique as the cascade burst of the water spirit's sword. With that, he's thrown back by the force of the water, screaming in frustration at the attack. He then remembers that he was the one who created this powerful water attribute technique. However, as the creator of this move, our hero knows about a fatal flaw in the technique. The initial burst of the technique comes at a cost, with its power diminishing after each successive attack. The young woman yells angrily for him not to even think about running, calling him a pervert. That's why the silver-haired man only needs to dodge the first few blows, and he quickly starts evading her attacks. He thinks to himself that any normal person would be fooled by the skill's initial show of power. Then, the young man plants his feet, preparing for the perfect moment to counterattack. But in reality, by the time the move reaches its end, even a mere mortal could withstand it. The soulless senior sister Anran is completely surprised by the intruder's resilience. And with a smirk, he stops the final blow from her sword with just one hand. Our hero grips her blade with his bare hands as a golden aura emanates from his body. With just a little bit of force, the sword begins to crack and shatter in his hand. And just like that, the blade shatters into countless pieces, leaving the girl in total shock. He then mocks her, saying it looks like she bought a cheap counterfeit sword. Furious, the young woman punches him right in the face, asking what he did to her weapon. She falls to the floor in despair, having spent a fortune on that spirit sword. The girl grabs him by his clothes, demanding to know how he's going to compensate her for the huge loss. After all, the exam is in 7 days, and without her sword, she won't be able to deal with Zhang Yuhang. Devastated, the young woman covers herself with the towel, having no idea what to do now. Still clutching his clothes, senior sister Anran looks as if she's lost all hope. The young man promises to compensate her later, adding that it wouldn't be good to attract outside attention. With a red face, she seems to calm down, accepting his proposal for the time being. The girl thinks he's strong and sees an opportunity, while he's just relieved that he's a smooth talker. She'll let him go if he agrees to one thing, on top of paying for the broken sword. She then explains that in 7 days, there will be an exam, and the prize is a high-quality sword. And to make matters worse, she explains that the exam is a martial arts competition for pairs. Our hero is shocked and starts to understand what the girl is getting at. He becomes desperate as he realizes she intends to make him her partner in the competition. With a sly smile, the young woman says she wants his help to win the tournament. She asks what the problem is, but the protagonist just hesitates, not knowing what to say. The young man then awkwardly asks her to put on some clothes before they continue their conversation. The girl tells him to turn around, and the silver-haired man immediately agrees with a playful tone. While she gets dressed, our hero grumbles that he's already seen everything, and she's just being petty. Already dressed, she asks what he was muttering about, but he quickly covers it up with a compliment. Senior sister Anran then finishes getting ready, pulling on her long black stockings. With her look complete, the girl calls him a smooth talker with an air of superiority. She then adds that he'll also have to pay for the furniture damaged during their fight. The young man protests, pointing out that she was the one who broke everything with her sword attacks. But the young woman just gives a sideways smirk, completely ignoring his complaint. To blackmail him, she says she could always report his intrusion to the Alliance leader. Our hero recognizes the object as the heavenly decree and is completely shocked. We see a flashback of someone celebrating in a house during a thunderstorm. In the past, the silver-haired man was drawing Chi when Anran accused him of deceiving her. The protagonist denies it, saying the girl is the very first disciple of their alliance. The young girl gets all flustered as the young man continues talking to her. He proudly says that she was also his very first personal disciple. Back in the present, the guy realizes she is Anran, the head disciple of the alliance. The young woman is pleased that the clueless pervert at least knows her title. The young man panics, knowing that if she reports him to Chiasio, he's done for. Andran pressures him about the competition, and he thinks about pretending to agree and then running away later. So, he starts shouting that he agrees to the girl's crazy proposal. But before he can finish speaking, the protagonist freezes in shock. The young woman locks him in a room and says she'll be waiting for him at the training grounds tomorrow. She then leaves, ignoring his protests as he remains trapped in the room. Alone in the dark, our hero lets out a little chuckle of pure frustration and anger. Sitting on the floor, he complains that just yesterday he was the mighty Dao Mingzi, and now he's in this pathetic situation. Suddenly, he turns around and notices a piece of cloth lying on the floor. Upon picking it up, the young man is surprised to see it's a piece of underwear, far too modern for this world. Just then, his system appears in the form of a cat girl and startles him, teasing him about his fetishes. Outside, Anran hears the noise coming from the room and glances back, a little confused. The cat girl cries with a bump on her head, complaining that he doesn't know how to appreciate her beauty. He then freaks out at the system for putting him in such a dangerous situation. The guy pinches her cheek, and the system defends itself, saying it gave him a powerful cultivation. But the young man lists off the cultivation levels and asks where the golden core even fits in. And with so many powerful enemies after him, that level of power is completely useless. Determined to escape, he decides he needs to find an opportunity to get away the next day. The next morning, the rooster crows loudly, announcing the start of a new day. With that, the silver-haired man camouflages himself in a bush, thinking there's no way he's going to that training. But two girls see the bush moving and call him disgusting and a pervert. Our hero just watches from inside the bush, waiting for the right moment to make his escape. From his hiding spot, he sees a crowd and wonders what's going on over there. Suddenly, a very smug-looking guy with a rose in his mouth grabs everyone's attention. This is Jiang Yuhang, the head disciple of the Outer Court of the Heavenly Alliance. The redhead tries to convince Anran to team up with him, saying they're a perfect match, but the young woman is furious, saying she can't stand people who abuse their power for personal gain. Thinking of a way to get rid of him, she suddenly spots our hero trying to sneak away. With that, the girl yells for the bush-disguised young man to stop right where he is. She grabs him and demands an explanation, but he awkwardly claims he was just lost. The young woman whispers for him to cooperate and asks for his name, so he says he's called Qin Shou. Then, with a smile, Anran turns to Zhang Yuheng and announces she's already chosen her partner. To prove her point, she presses our protagonist's face against her chest. And just like that, the girl announces she will be teaming up with her junior disciple, Qin Shou. At this, Zhang Yuheng is completely shocked and panics at the news. The new pair then turns and walks away, leaving the head disciple behind. Alone and humiliated, the redhead stands there, gritting his teeth in pure rage. Furious, Zhang Yuheng orders his men to find out who this Qin Shou is and where he comes from. The redhead swears that the young man is doomed for daring to steal his woman. Elsewhere, our hero is forced to sign a contract with his own blood thumbprint. Anran explains she had to use the blood oath method to keep him from running away. The silver-haired man finds it strange, commenting that this seems like something out of a demonic cult. She confirms that it is indeed a blood oath from a cult, and anyone who breaks it dies instantly. Now he's trapped and feels doomed, as participating in the arena is a death sentence. Suddenly, the young man remembers he has a golden core cultivation, and an idea pops into his head. He then wakes up his system to ask about his current power level. The young man questions how his cultivation compares to that of the Heavenly Sect's disciples. With a wicked grin, he starts planning how he'll use his power in the tournament. Based on his readings, he knows his level makes him stronger than most of them. But he remembers that Zhang Yuheng comes from a wealthy family and must have powerful treasures. So, our hero asks the system for some defensive equipment or money to buy some. At this, the system offers him 2 missions to complete to get what he needs. He then indignantly shouts that he's not the kind of person who would perform improper acts for 100 spirit stones. 3 minutes later, with his face bright red, he demands payment for the mission he just completed. He then heads to the Zheng clan's treasure pavilion to gear up and buy a defensive item. Inside, a vendor greets him, saying he'll show him the best and rarest item in the entire sect. The young man examines a golden shield, commenting to himself that the item's appearance is quite impressive. He questions if the shield can withstand strong attacks, and the vendor guarantees it, even offering a 10-fold refund. However, when he applies a bit of force to test the item, the shield simply cracks in his hand. The young man says he barely used any force, and the item broke on its own, questioning the product's quality. Nervously, the vendor claims it was a mistake by the craftsman and hastily throws him another shield. Saying that mistakes happen, the merchant suggests our hero check out a spirit sword instead. Confused, the protagonist asks why the vendor gave him a sword when he wanted armor. The shopkeeper then explains that the sword can automatically protect its master during battles. He claims the weapon can even withstand an attack from an expert, but the young man shatters it with his fingers. With a sharp snap, the blade breaks, and the tip falls, embedding itself in the treasure shop's counter. In silence, the two stare at the tip of the sword stuck in the wooden counter, saying nothing. The protagonist yells at the vendor, telling him he can't be so careless with his customers. Nervously, the shopkeeper tells him not to worry and that he can take anything from the shop for free. The vendor then goes to a curtain and starts pulling out item after item for the young man. Our hero stares at the items with an intense gaze and a very suspicious smile on his face. Meanwhile, elsewhere, an old man is giving a report to a seemingly busy Zhang Yuhang. He shows a scroll with a failure stamp, and the redhead calls him useless for not finding anyone. The servant says he couldn't find Qin Shou, and the young master yells at him to search outside the sect. Just then, another subordinate comes running in, saying someone is vandalizing the redhead's shop. Zhang Yuhang asks how that's possible, since the shop is stocked with high-quality weapons. Stuttering and terrified, the servant tries to explain the gravity of the situation to his master. He then screams that the mysterious intruder has destroyed every single weapon and piece of armor in the shop. The scene shows our hero in the wrecked shop, while the young master fumes at the news. The redhead says he'll handle it, but his servant urges caution, saying the intruder is highly skilled. Irritated, he grabs the servant by the collar, asking if a coward like him is going to solve the situation. Suddenly, a voice says the boy is right and that the intruder is too strong for him to face. The terrified servant yells for his master to kneel before the mysterious figure that has just appeared. Then, the mysterious figure calls out the young master's name, who is now on the floor, terrified. The redhead then respectfully greets the elder as the figure stares him down with glowing eyes. Meanwhile, back at the shop, the elder appears, saying they've gone too far with this mess. The protagonist slams his hand on the counter, demanding the tenfold compensation he was promised. The young man points to a box and asks what's inside, but the vendor says it's not for sale. With a mischievous grin, our hero forcefully grabs the box, ignoring the shopkeeper's protests. He figures, if it's not for sale, it must be valuable, and starts to open the golden box. Upon opening the box, his smile vanishes, and he stares at its contents with a serious expression. Inside the box, he finds a strange blue mask with several eyes drawn on it. He recognizes the item as a piece of junk he once discarded, and just then, the redhead and his goons arrive at the shop. Furious, the young master orders his men to take the item from our protagonist by force. The white-haired young man whips his head around, surprised by the sudden attack from the goons. Two brutes grab him by the arms, and he yells, asking what they're trying to do. The shopkeeper shouts his master's name, and our hero recognizes him at the same time. With a wicked and terrifying grin, the young master glares at our immobilized hero. The redhead threatens to cripple the young man with a dagger for daring to compete with him for women. He moves closer, and the protagonist calls him a scoundrel while trying to break free from the goons. The silver-haired man screams that he's a despicable pervert and tells the young master to stay away. Suddenly, Anran appears out of nowhere and lands a powerful kick right in the smug redhead's face. The blow is so powerful that the young master goes flying and smacks his head on the shop's ceiling. The goons are shocked, and the young woman wonders if this is some new kind of attack. Outside, the noise catches Anran's attention, and she becomes curious about the commotion. Our hero seizes the opportunity, deciding he's had enough, and tries to make a run for it. But a powerful voice rings out, and the mysterious elder appears, ordering the young man to stop at once. The old man says he destroyed the shop and injured Zhang, asking where he thinks he's going. The silver-haired man feels the terrifying aura and wonders who this incredibly powerful person is. The redhead's goons kneel on the floor and greet the old man, calling him elder. It's then that our hero discovers the elder is Zhang Yuhang's grandfather and is completely shocked. He realizes the redhead's grandfather is an earth immortal, an extremely powerful being. The elder launches a devastating attack, and the desperate young man begs for them to talk it out. On instinct, he uses the blue mask as a shield to protect himself from the imminent blow. The collision generates a massive explosion that completely destroys the treasure shop's facade. When the dust settles, our hero's silhouette reveals that he survived the attack. He's surprised he doesn't feel any pain and concludes the mask must have incredible defensive properties. The old man is shocked, asking if the young man used some kind of magic treasure to defend himself. Furious, the elder says he wants to see how the silver-haired man will deal with his next attacks. He then launches another ball of energy, but the protagonist yells, pleading for him to listen. Out of nowhere, Anran appears and blocks the old man's attack with her sharp sword. The young woman glares at him, warning that private fights are forbidden within the Heavenly Alliance. Our hero clings to her, saying she has to protect him so he can pay off his debt. The elder dispels his energy with a look of pure irritation on his face. The girl demands an explanation, and he tells her about the fake items and the promised compensation. And Ran is dumbfounded when she hears the debt is several million spirit stones. She then turns to the elder and demands that he pay the compensation owed to Qin Shu. The elder questions if the young woman will really oppose his family, which supports the alliance. She says she only wants the Zhang family to follow their own rules and pay the compensation. Our hero realizes the girl isn't reliable and starts thinking of a solution to the problem. He then spots the unconscious young master on the floor with a piece of paper and a pen nearby. With a very malicious grin, a new plan forms in his mind to resolve the situation. Meanwhile, the swordswoman and the old man continue to face off in a tense standoff. And Rand thinks that the elder's family techniques are dangerous and she needs to be careful. The Earth Immortal also recognizes the girl's strength for having withstood his blow. Suddenly, the protagonist calls out to the old man, who turns around, a little confused. He shows a promissory note, claiming the young master has already prepared the payment for the debt, but the note is just a blank piece of paper with 3 blood marks as a fake signature. Zhang Yuhang's grandfather is utterly shocked and furious at the young man's audacity. With that, the silver-haired man and the girl seize the chance to escape, bidding the old man farewell. As they run, he says he wants 70% of the money, but the girl demands the same. A goon asks if they're just gonna let them go, but the elder tells him to take his grandson to be treated. The elder says with a malicious smile that no one can steal from his family and get away with it. He then plans to turn the young man into the vessel for his ancestors' resurrection. Elsewhere, we see a person relaxing in a wooden bathtub full of foam and steam. It was Anran, who calls out to our hero while peacefully enjoying her bath in the water. The young woman asks the silver-haired man to get the soap for her, and he agrees from the other side of the screen. But before he goes, the young man stops suddenly with a look of pure anger and frustration. He barges in and yells at the girl for chaining him to her while she takes a bath. She claims she did it to protect him, but he accuses her of just being after the money. The swordswoman explains the money could stabilize the alliance and hopes for her master's return. With that, she forbids him from leaving her sight, and the young man runs from her, yelling that he understands. Trapped, the silver-haired man realizes it will be very difficult and dangerous to escape the alliance on his own. Suddenly, as he's thinking of a solution, a brilliant idea finally comes to his mind. He remembers that the mask is a useless item, but that it can block spiritual energy. The young man wonders how it resisted an Earth Immortal's blow, and if the Zhang family enhanced it. So he calls his system and asks if the cat girl has any kind of scanning function. He asks the system to check the mask's attributes, but the scanning function is locked. The young man complains about the system's uselessness, and the cat girl explains she lost data during the trip. He asks if he can go back to restore it, but she says he needs to take responsibility. The silver-haired man complains that with his weak cultivation, he can't do anything in such a dangerous world. Just then, the system appears with a smile, saying his cultivation can indeed be improved. With a malicious grin, he grabs her and orders her to help him improve his cultivation right now. The cat girl explains that the method for improvement is to recover the game data he lost. She then shows him that his data is scattered all across the continent in various places. To get stronger, he needs to truly beat the game by collecting all the scattered data. The young man laughs confidently, saying he can beat any game, but she reminds him about the spirit stones. Suddenly, Enron's voice calls out to him, asking for more hot water for her bath, making him nervous. He remembers the mission to slap the patriarch and demands the reward from his system. But the cat girl says the mission was to hit the patriarch, not the elders, and he doesn't understand. Just then, a malevolent purple energy strikes him, and a shadowy figure materializes in the room. With a terrifying smile, the entity says it has finally found a perfect vessel. The entity asks the young man if he's ready to offer his body as a sacrifice. Meanwhile, at the Zhang family mansion, a servant reports an incident to his master. The master of the house argues with the elder for not doing anything about the outsider who attacked them, but the old man explains he intentionally let the young man take the mask containing the ancestor's soul. The Lord understands, saying his father will have fun using the young intruder's body. He then tells his grandfather to use this to teach his spoiled and arrogant grandson a lesson. The master says now is the perfect time to act, and the elder agrees to prepare everything. Now they just have to wait for the possession, and the Lord reveals the name of the family's genius. Back at the bath, the entity attacks, saying it will show him what it means to have a shadowy hand. The young woman quickly wraps herself in a towel to protect herself and prepare for the fight. She tells our hero to hide behind her, but he complains about still being chained to her. The entity screams that no one will escape and launches a devastating attack against the two. The blow strikes the girl's soul directly, and she collapses to the ground in immense pain. The young man rushes to her side, yelling for her to defeat the enemy first and pass out later. The ancestor laughs, asking if they dare to fight against his black flame as he prepares another strike. The entity then orders the young man to surrender and let his soul be burned for the sacrifice. With that, our hero is hit squarely by the attack and seems to be in intense pain. But instead of screaming, he just endures the blow with a look of pure concentration. Suddenly, the protagonist realizes the black flames aren't actually hurting him. Confused, he wonders why he's not feeling any pain despite being attacked. The young man then deduces that, as a time traveler, he might not even have a soul. At this, the ancestor finds his lack of reaction strange and comments on the weakness of souls. The entity then decides to possess the young man's body and dives into his consciousness. But upon entering the young man's spiritual space, he finds it empty and wonders if he's an idiot. Suddenly, a mysterious hand grabs the ancestor's face from behind, taking him by surprise. The old man realizes the boy lured him into a trap and is now trying to devour his soul. The system appears and attacks the entity, which screams as its black flame is consumed. Shocked, the ancestor asks why the young man's soul is that of a woman and insults him. Inside his own mind, the hero says he'll show him who's boss and lands a powerful punch on the old man. The blow is so strong that the ancestor's soul is sent flying from the impact. The ancestor says that having two souls doesn't make him special and that he can easily defeat them both. But our hero steps on the old man, and the system reveals that this is his consciousness space. The ancestor recognizes Dao Mingzi and remembers his terrifying figure with dread. Suddenly, the protagonist returns to his normal form, and the cat girl says he can customize himself here. With a smile, he threatens to change her clothes, but the assistant says the change isn't free. Terrified, the ancestor kneels on the ground and begs the mighty Dao Mingzi to forgive him. The silver-haired man grabs him, and the old man explains he sealed his soul in the mask to survive. Lacking patience for the ghost story, our hero simply punches him again. He then returns to his normal self and demands his reward from the system for slapping the ancestor. The cat girl hands him a ball of golden light, and the young man is impressed with the reward. But the item turns out to be a piece of underwear, and the system announces it as the banner of the eternal soul. He freaks out over the reward, and the assistant says it's his own fault if he doesn't know how to use the artifact. The young man analyzes the pattern and feels it's familiar, so the system advises him to test its effects. When he tries to activate the item, the system informs him he needs 100,000 spirit stones to use it. He screams at the cost, and the assistant says that exploring its abilities is more profitable than stealing. Suddenly, an idea strikes him, and the young man seems to have found the perfect solution. In his consciousness, he asks the ancestor if his family isn't rich, and the old man is shocked. Back in the real world, he breaks free from the chains with a yell, while the girl remains on the floor. With this, he decides to pretend he's been possessed to trick the Zhang family and get their money. The blue-haired girl remains collapsed on the room's floor, exhausted from the previous attack. At the Zhang family mansion, the young master wonders why the ancestor hasn't returned yet. The head of the house becomes furious at the doubt and yells for no one to question his father's strength. The redhead is worried, complaining that the ancestor chose a country bumpkin for his senior sister. Just then, a servant announces that Qin Shou requests an audience, and the master of the house allows him to enter. The patriarch warns everyone to behave, as his father will be back soon, and they all agree. Our hero enters the grand hall, and with a nervous smile, asks if this reception is for him. In his mind, the silver-haired man asks the old ghost if there's a secret signal for the switch. The ghost tells him to say, "My dear children, I have returned," and the young man agrees to the plan. But the entity warns him that his body is weak, and if he speaks like Dao Mingzi, they will kill him. The hero ignores the warning and shouts that their ancestor has returned, leaving everyone in shock. In his mind, the ancestor recognizes that way of speaking and becomes tense about the situation. But the entire family kneels on the floor and welcomes their great ancestor. With a smile, our hero tells everyone to rise, thinking about how he'll punish the old man later. The patriarch says that with him, the family will surely win, and the silver-haired man agrees with a grin. Suddenly, he's shocked to hear that the competition will be held in the Desolate Bones secret realm. The image shows a dark and eerie place, filled with giant scattered bones. Our hero remembers that place as the territory of the powerful judge of reincarnation. Now sitting on a throne, he's furious that he didn't expect the competition to be in that place. He thinks the mask might help, but he doesn't want to risk his life with such a weak item. With a wicked smile, he decides the Zhang family is the perfect target for his plans. The protagonist says he needs to recover, but the patriarch insists on the tournament's importance. He then grabs the patriarch and yells, demanding a fortune in spirit stones right now. The master of the house panics and orders the elder to bring all of the family's assets. But before they can leave, Zhang Yuhang stops them, claiming they've all been deceived. The redhead points at the MC, saying he sounds just like before and suspects the possession is fake. The redhead questions why the patriarch would ask for the family's assets when he's never done that before. Nervous, our hero realizes the young master is cunning and the ancestor despairs in his mind. At this, the silver-haired man decides he needs to act fast before his plan goes down the drain. He then jumps up and lands a solid kick on the redhead, who falls to the ground, completely knocked out. An elder asks if the patriarch isn't being too harsh, but the Lord says he doesn't understand. He explains that this has been the patriarch's way ever since they were much younger. With tears in his eyes, the master of the house says this is his father's way of expressing love. The Lord then concludes the ancestor knocked out his grandson for not wanting to marry, and our hero agrees. With that, the fake patriarch orders them to take the young master to recover with the Wang girl. Alone, he laments that even with his strength, he can't test it with so many people around. Just then, the patriarch approaches and says he's brought all the family's assets as requested. The two stare at each other with a glint in their eyes and an expression of pure greed and expectation. Our hero can barely contain his excitement, his eyes shining at the sight of the fortune. Then, before them, a gigantic mountain of spirit stones and treasures materializes in the hall. The Lord apologizes for it being so little, but the young man says it's fine, trying to hide his shock. He's stunned by the family's wealth and thinks that now he can finally use the ancestral soul banner. With a sinister smile, he considers testing his strength on a family member to see his power. Suddenly, a loud noise startles our protagonist and the family patriarch. Just then, Anran appears, yelling for everyone to stop and flashing a Heavenly Alliance symbol. The patriarch glares at her angrily as she accuses him of wanting to rebel against the Heavenly Alliance. In time, with a malicious smile, he thinks that rebellion is impossible, but the Alliance master is in seclusion. He then plans to make the disciple disappear before her master comes out of seclusion. The young woman then draws her sword, challenging him to kill her before she can warn her master. But our hero steps between them, shouting for everyone to stop the fight immediately. He reminds the patriarch that he's participating in the competition with the girl and can't kill her. Annoyed, he complains that he risked his life to save her and says she'll never repay what she owes. Confused, the young woman asks why the patriarch called him father and if he was possessed by that strange being. He panics, thinking that if they're exposed, they'll both be completely doomed. The patriarch whispers for him to stay calm, saying he trusts his methods for the plan. He demands the girl hand over the top-grade spirit sword to spare her life. He then places his hand on the girl's head and pretends to use a black flame to burn her soul. The patriarch is confused, saying he doesn't know the move since only his father knows soul spells. At this, the young man whispers for Anran to cooperate, and she finally understands it was all a sham. The young woman looks at the mountain of money and is impressed, thinking the boy is a genius. Our hero tells the swordswoman to be quiet and fall to the ground quickly to maintain the plan. She then pretends to be hit by a soul attack and leaps backward, screaming in pain. The girl falls to the ground, screaming that she'll be controlled and turned into the patriarch's puppet. With that, everyone applauds, congratulating the fake ancestor for defeating a great talent. Anron winks at him, reminding him to share the money, and the young man gets irritated with her acting. The silver-haired man then turns to the members of the Zhang family, preparing to give an order. With a smile, he announces that they will depart for the secret realm in just 5 days. The scene shows that the realm was once a lush paradise, full of vitality and nature. But 1,000 years ago, Dao Mingzi used the place to nurture a demonic treasure with sacrifices. That act transformed the paradise into a realm of death, covered in bones and vengeful spirits. We see a fleet of Zhang family ships, and the objective of their competition is finally revealed. It is to enter the deepest part of the secret realm and retrieve the powerful divine sword. But our hero is bored, remembering he used to use this place for farming in an old game. He then asks what the sword is for, and the Lord explains that it opens a treasure vault. This weapon belonged to Qi Shao, but she lost it in a battle and was left without resources for her disciples. 100 years ago, a disciple found the blade in the realm, and now the Alliance sends people there. With the fake ancestor, the old man is certain the Zhang family will obtain the legendary weapon. Andre is furious and threatens to self-destruct, but the young man whispers for her to be quiet and not ruin everything. With that, the Zhang family ships fly through the dangerous secret realm, filled with bones and darkness. The silver-haired man says he understands the plan and pulls the girl away to prepare for the mission. An elder finds the fake ancestor's actions strange, but the patriarch says he's just having fun. With a malicious smile, the Lord turns and asks if his grandson has had any success on his side of the plan. The scene cuts to the Zhang family's flying corridor, and we hear several strange sounds coming from it. Outside a room, the guards look quite embarrassed by what's happening inside. One of them comments that the young master and the girl have been in there for days, and the other worries about the effects. Suddenly, a giant hand smacks the guards on the head, leaving them both completely terrified. A blast of energy throws the guards away, and the ground begins to shake violently. In his mind, the hero remembers an old game and a boss he promised to defeat. Back in reality, our hero vomits a rainbow, and the girl complains about him doing that now. He says he's become sensitive to transportation, and the young woman ignores him, saying the Zhang family is planning a rebellion. Angry, she recalls her master's orders and says she must report the treason immediately. But the young man stops her, saying the alliance leader is in seclusion and cannot be contacted. He panics, thinking that if her master finds out about the plan, he'll be the first to die. The silver-haired man then asks if the girl has any help from any elders or confidants of her master. The swordswoman explains that the alliance was created to fight a demon and accepted anyone. With the leader in seclusion, she can't control the other members who have their own evil plans. She laments, saying that if she had the divine sword earlier, she wouldn't be in such a bad situation. The young man comforts her, saying that strength isn't everything in the world, and she's confused by his attitude. He says that strategies are more important, and the girl asks if he has a plan for the Zhang family. With a smug smile, the protagonist says he has no plan at all, and she gets super irritated. He then reveals he has a way to help her get the sword, and shows her a skull banner. The swordswoman agrees to trust him, but the young man is secretly planning to steal all her treasures later. In front of a mountain, the hero asks where the elders are, and sees figures flying towards the top. One of the leaders then announces with a smile on his face that he himself will make the first move. At that moment, the old man rushes forward at high speed, leaving a trail of dust behind him. With that, other elders join him, and together they create a large portal of golden energy. The energy portal finally opens, revealing the entrance to the desolate bone secret realm. 2 gigantic stone columns form a gate that emits an intense and mysterious light. A leader yells that the gate will only stay open for a moment and orders all disciples to enter. At this, all the disciples run desperately towards the light, not wanting to be left behind. The young man grabs the girl's hand and tells her to hold on tight so they don't get separated inside. He then smiles and says that normally they wouldn't get separated, but he's not a normal person. As they run, the silver-haired man orders her to take exactly 50 steps forward. Right after that, he yells for her to take 38 more steps to the left without hesitation. Finally, he pulls her to take one last step, and the swordswoman asks what he's doing. The image focuses on his foot, stepping on a very specific spot on the ground near the portal entrance. At that moment, the ground cracks open, and the two of them fall together into a dark hole that appeared on the spot. They emerge before a gloomy temple, and the girl wonders where they are, but the young man just smiles and says, "Right here." Meanwhile, at the main portal, screams of despair echo through the gloomy area. We see a few disciples being attacked by green tentacles, and a girl is screaming for help. One of the young men grows furious, wondering how demons could possibly dare to attack members of his alliance. With his sword in hand, he charges at the monsters to save the girls who are trapped there. They are Yu Xia Sheng and Zheng Zhengren, two of the strongest disciples in the Celestial Alliance. The girls they saved are completely smitten with them, saying they're sure to win the competition. Just then, a scoreboard shows that the duo is in first place, with 65 points. Far away, in a meeting room, an elder praises his successors with a smile. But another master says it's too early to celebrate, because the important thing is to find the divine sword. The leader of the Zhong family joins the discussion, stating that points are what decide the winner. The bald man provokes her, saying her family only acts in the shadows, which makes the woman angry. Another elder says the alliance is in chaos, and that it's time for them to put their house in order. Then, the bearded man remembers that the alliance master has already chosen a successor to take her place. Suddenly, the scoreboard updates, showing in Ran and Qin Shou with 172 points. Right after that, their score jumps to 224, leaving everyone in shock. Patriarch Zhang is proud of his fake father, but wonders what he did to get so many points. Meanwhile, in the dark temple, a huge noise echoes through the place as something comes crashing down. Our hero groans in pain on the ground, complaining that falling in real life is way more painful than in the game. He then realizes his soft landing was actually the swordswoman, and she is furious about the situation. The girl asks how they got there, and the guy explains that he used a bug to skip the weak monsters. The platinum-haired boy's goal is to find his lost game data to strengthen his soul in the process. She's worried about the danger of the place, but our hero tells her not to worry because he knows everything about it. At that moment, the girl looks to the side and is startled by something appearing in the darkness. A horde of small demons with glowing eyes emerges from the shadows, ready to attack. The guy pulls her along by a chain, telling her the monsters are fast, while she starts to panic. With a smile, he takes her hand and assures her there's no game in existence that he can't beat. Then, the platinum-haired guy runs ahead, taunting the monsters, and the girl yells that he's gone crazy. The horde of creatures charges ferociously toward the pair, and the girl screams in fear, but our hero just smiles, saying the timing is perfect for what he had planned. With that, he throws several blue crystals that hit the monsters, and the swordswoman praises his aim. The girl says the move was cool, but didn't hurt the monsters, and he tells her to just wait a second. One of the creatures gets dangerously close to the girl, leaving her completely terrified. Suddenly, the demons start falling off the bridge, and the swordswoman wonders what just happened. The guy explains with a smile that the monsters are dumb and jumped off the cliff all by themselves. He continues, saying that all you have to do is cause a little bit of damage to get all their experience points. The platinum-haired boy says that by following the original plan, they'll be able to advance their cultivation quickly. The girl is confused, wondering how he knows all this, and if he's really just an ordinary disciple. Suddenly, a noise gets their attention, and something unexpected happens right in front of them. Our hero stops dead in his tracks, and the swordswoman bumps into him, asking why he stopped running. Two elite monsters appear before them, and the guy says these ones won't be jumping off any cliffs. With a smirk, he gets ready for a fight, saying he's going to test his current strength against them. Then, he starts crying and hands her a device to pull him back in case he loses the fight. The protagonist charges forward with everything he's got, launching a powerful golden energy attack at the monsters. The scene changes, showing the girl on top of a pile of bones, surrounded by strange creatures. With wide eyes, the swordswoman is impressed by the powerful aura she feels coming from the place. A blue energy destroys the pile of bones, and a small spirit watches everything from nearby. In the sky, a blue-haired girl says that Dao Mingzi has finally appeared in this place. With a dark smile, the mysterious girl says she's going to imprison her opponent's soul. Holding red chains, she says he will slowly pay for all his past mistakes. The scene cuts back to the protagonist, who is concentrating to use his strongest move. A huge explosion of golden energy hits the two elite monsters with full force. The guy gets excited by his own power, wondering if he's the invincible protagonist of this story. But to his surprise, the monsters didn't suffer a single scratch, and he's left completely shocked. The swordswoman angrily pulls him back, yelling at him not to make so much noise if he can't even win. With a determined look, the girl says that now their only option is to fight back with everything they have. She then uses a water technique and flees at high speed, dragging him along with her. On the way, he spots a shortcut, but the girl tells him to focus on surviving instead of looking for new routes. Meanwhile, the monsters watch them escape, and one of them starts talking about what happened. The purple creature is terrified, wondering who that guy with the powerful attack was. He then says they need to warn their lord and asks his companion to go with him. A blue-haired girl appears and says she already knows about the situation, leaving the monsters surprised. She thinks to herself that the master has infiltrated the alliance and wonders if he wants to provoke her older sister. A skull spirit notices that the presence has vanished and questions if its master sensed him. The swordswoman asks why the hero is wearing a mask, and he tells her to hide her presence. The mysterious girl says she doesn't know what he used, but she guarantees he won't escape her domain. With that, she summons the souls of Fengdu to find her master, and a large blue aura appears. The protagonist suddenly starts shivering, feeling a chill run down his spine. His companion asks if he's alright, and the guy says it's just the coldness of the place. He says the shortcut disappeared and asks her for protection while she absorbs stones to get stronger. Suddenly, the girl's expression turns serious as she notices something strange with her eyes. They then look at a temple on top of a mountain and wonder what's up there. The platinum-haired guy is confused because there are no monsters and thinks they were all summoned by Yi Ling. He wonders if the monsters won't respawn, and the swordswoman senses a dark energy. At that moment, a system warns of nearby data loss, and the guy becomes alert. But he gets happy and laughs, saying he's going to recover his lost data, ignoring the girl's warning. With that, the guy runs towards the temple without worrying about his companion's warnings. He says the danger is nothing compared to the chance of recovering his lost cultivation data. The swordswoman finds the room creepy, and the hero searches for something specific in the darkness. Suddenly, the girl looks at a strange door and lets out a scream of pure despair. The platinum-haired guy gets excited and says the boss appeared in a different way, wondering if it's a new monster. Annoyed, the girl questions his excitement, but he replies that defeating bosses gives rewards. A dark voice then asks if just the two of them dare to invade his dark underworld. Before them, a giant monster with the appearance of a judge asks if they are ready for their judgment. At that moment, the scene cuts to the upper level of the secret realm, where the battle is still going on. One of the strongest disciples cuts a demon in half with his powerful energy sword. The girls who were saved have hearts in their eyes, praising the strength of their saviors. One of the young men wonders how so many disciples appeared, and the other says to help anyone who needs it. Then, one of them notices that the demons are starting to flee and wonders what they're afraid of. His companion says the monsters fear them, but then he suddenly hears a strange sound. Focused, the disciple tries to identify the mysterious noise that's getting closer. A wave of blue spirits appears in the sky, and one disciple asks what kind of ghostly thing this is. Everyone screams that they're ghosts and runs for their lives, crying out for help. But one of the leaders feels something strange and says the spirits don't seem to want to hurt them. He then understands that the creatures are actually trying to drive everyone out of that area. The ghosts continue their pursuit, guiding the group of young people in a specific direction. After a while, the spirits stop chasing them, and everyone is finally able to stop running. They find themselves in front of a giant stone wall, which is the deepest part of the secret realm. The guy understands that this was where the ghosts wanted them to go, and then the spirits vanish. Suddenly, a scream echoes through the area, and all the disciples look to the side, completely terrified. They see a muscular man holding a girl, and the leader yells at him to stop immediately. The brute recognizes the two young men and says that heaven is helping him with his evil plans. With a smile, he reveals that the ghosts gathered everyone there so he wouldn't have to hunt them down one by one. The crowd recognizes the villain, saying he was killing people to steal their points. The leader accuses him of harming their comrades, but the brute replies that it's the law of the strongest. In his thoughts, the big guy thinks that without our hero, this person would already be dead. The brute reveals he already knew about the hero's charade and regrets not facing him, but his partner tells him to focus on the mission. Then, the two heroes get ready for the fight, telling the brute not to dare harm anyone else in front of them. The villain smiles, and with his hand covered in black energy, says he'll test his current strength against the sex prodigies. With that, the big guy charges at the two young men, who are the second and third prodigies of that sect. Far away, the blue-haired girl arrives at a destroyed location and finds the whole situation very strange. The girl then wonders where her benefactor went, as there's no one left at the battle site. Suddenly, the girl senses a strange presence and is very surprised by what's happening there. With wide eyes, the young woman seems to have finally discovered something very important about what she felt. Back at the other fight, the judge monster attacks the duo with several red, ghostly flames. The hero complains that it's cold, and the swordswoman yells that it's hot as they dodge the attack. The swordswoman then says not to think she's a useless older sister and prepares her sword strike. With her sword, she launches a huge water attack that collides with the flames, and the guy congratulates her. The boss opens a third eye on its forehead, which glows with a purple light as it prepares to attack. The eye analyzes the girl, describing her as greedy and stingy, and she furiously screams that she's nothing like that. With that, the boss summons a giant purple energy sword and lunges to attack the swordswoman with everything it has. The swordswoman blocks the blow with her own sword, but is having a very hard time holding back the attack. She then screams for help, saying her weapon won't hold, and the guy tells her to hang on a little longer. Meanwhile, he's looking for something in the environment because he knows that in the game, there's a way to beat this boss. The girl warns him that the monster's eye is watching him, but he doesn't care and says he's just a player. The judge's eye then analyzes our hero, revealing a huge list of sins from his games. The giant creature becomes absolutely furious with the platinum-haired boy's long list of crimes. With that, the boss yells that he won't escape hell and promises to destroy his body and soul. The swordswoman is surprised by her companion's outburst of rage and doesn't understand what's happening. Just then, the judge's weapon disappears, and the girl realizes he's now targeting only our hero. The guy yells for her to get ready for a surprise attack because he's going to act as bait for the monster. With her sword in hand, the girl concentrates and prepares a powerful water attack for the ambush. She then uses her water technique to take a great leap into the air and position herself for the attack. From above, the swordswoman dives towards the boss, her water sword, ready for the final blow. The water attack hits the monster head on, while the platinum-haired guy watches everything with a smile. The creature is hit by the surprise attack and seems to take a lot of damage from the girl's strike. The swordswoman is in shock, wondering if her attack simply passed right through the monster. But the guy explains that the boss is a spirit, so physical attacks don't work on it. Suddenly, our hero remembers something important about spirits, and the girl tells him to be careful. The girl grabs him and yells that he's going to be cut in half, but he tells her not to worry because he has a plan. He takes out the skull flag and says the familiar aura was from that woman, and the item has an effect against spirits. Then, the protagonist throws the Eternal Soul banner into the air and says it's time for it to shine in battle. His companion asks why he took out a piece of underwear, but he explains that it's a very expensive divine artifact. The boss seems to recognize the item, and the platinum-haired guy smiles, saying there are still people who recognize its value. The creature calls him a pervert who steals women's clothes and starts writing in its book. A system message confirms the transaction and shows that 100,000 spirit stones have been used. The hero yells that he didn't steal anything and unleashes the banner's power, which glows with a blue energy. The judge is shocked to see its book and brush being pulled by the force of the divine artifact. The book and brush fly rapidly through the air towards our protagonist, who watches them. He catches the items and says the banner can control the monster's book of life and death. Furious, the boss says only he can use the treasures and uses a power to revive the dead, summoning 2 hounds. The boss orders its hounds to retrieve the treasures, and the 2 beasts charge forward with everything they've got. But our hero just smiles, and with the brush, he quickly writes something in the judge's book. Just like that, the 2 hounds turn into sheep and fall to the ground, and the monster is furious at what it sees. The creature screams that it's impossible, and the guy says that maybe his soul is just stronger. He then lies, saying he created the book, and the girl praises him, saying he's absolutely incredible. The swordswoman thinks he must be a master in disguise, while the guy wonders what to write next. Suddenly, the system charges him double the fee of 100,000 spirit stones for using it. The platinum-haired guy gets angry and yells that the system is counting the number of times he uses it. The system spirit appears, laughing, and he calls her a scammer for charging so much money. The boss gets angry and says that even without the treasures, it can still finish off our hero. Then, the creature launches a fire attack, and the guy says it's time to find his lost cultivation. With that, the protagonist creates a large blue magic circle to defend himself from the flames. The judge screams in despair upon seeing its powerful fire attack get completely absorbed. With a malicious grin, the platinum-haired guy says it's too late to run and pulls it into the circle. The boss is then sucked into the blue portal, looking terrified of what's about to happen. A purple energy falls from the sky, and the sheep are sucked in along with it, creating a huge explosion on the ground. The boss falls into a strange place and wonders where it was sucked into, along with its hunting hounds. With a look of anger, it notices something strange and seems to be very afraid of what's to come. A more sinister monster appears and asks if the judge also wants to take over Dao Mingzi's body. Outside, the large door finally opens, and the swordswoman celebrates with a smile on her face. Our hero remembers that this path leads to the final boss of the secret realm and gets very serious. He runs, determined to find his data, and the girl says she can feel the divine sword just ahead. The platinum-haired guy understands why she's there, and the girl is startled by a voice, asking who's there. At that moment, footsteps can be heard, and a mysterious figure slowly approaches the duo. It's the blue-haired girl from before, and with a smile, she says he's heartless, and that it's been a long time since they've seen each other. The swordswoman is confused and asks if they know each other, but the guy seems very nervous. With a purple mark on his face, he panics and yells that he doesn't know her from anywhere. The girl says she doesn't feel his aura, but she's not fooled by his appearance or tone of voice. She then says she's excited to have his soul forever, and the guy yells at her to stay away. His companion steps in front of him, and the protagonist celebrates, saying his sister is powerful, but then tells her to stop. The blue-haired girl calls her a disappointing woman and seems to not care about her at all. With a single finger, the mysterious girl defeats the swordswoman, and the hero screams for his sister. He holds his companion and asks what the young woman did, fearing retaliation from the Alliance. But the girl explains she only expelled her soul, and the woman will recover from the attack soon. She approaches him and says no one will get in the way of their union, but he denies being the benefactor. The platinum-haired guy panics, thinking that if she takes off his mask, he'll have to fight with everything he's got. So, he decides to grant the crazy woman's wish, and finally removes the mask from his face. The face revealed is that of a scary old man who claims to be the ancestor of the Zhang family, not a benefactor. But the protagonist smiles because the soul in the banner can be used for its appearance and abilities. In the system space, we see that the soul banner consumes a lot of spirit stones to be used. The fake ancestor says they need to escape, as there are powerful spirits guarding the path ahead. They then look down and see a large crowd of cultivators gathered in the area. The girl thinks that if that's not her master, then he must be hiding in the crowd. With that, the young woman unleashes 6 paths of colored energy, saying that souls can't fool her. The cultivators feel the terrifying aura and scream that they need to get out of there as fast as possible. One of the leaders tells the crowd not to worry, because they will protect them at all costs. The 2 young men say they will protect everyone, even if it costs them their own lives. The brute scoffs at them and says they should worry about surviving first. The blue-haired girl says that all the survivors are gathered there at that very moment. She then smiles and says it's a great opportunity to extract and inspect their souls. The fake ancestor shouts that the girl is the lord of the secret realm and that the sacred sword is with her. The leader of the crowd is surprised to see the ancestor and is shocked by the revelation. The brute believes his ancestor managed to take over a body and that he was just overthinking things. The leader says to leave the squabbles for later and focus on defeating the lord of the secret realm. Suddenly, a red energy envelops the 2 young men and they start acting strangely. With red eyes, they begin to shout and seem very angry at each other. All of a sudden, the 2 companions start fighting intensely with their swords. One of them yells that he works harder, and the other complains that he's more popular with the girls. The crowd is in shock, and the mysterious girl says the 2 hypocrites have been manipulated. The brute yells that the sacred sword must belong to the Zhang family and charges forward with all his might. But the blue-haired girl easily stops the big guy's attack, creating a massive explosion. The Lord floats above them and with a mocking look calls them 2 foolish pigs. She then activates one of her powers, and a sinister green energy begins to swirl in the air. The duo from the Zhang family is terrified as they feel the girl's energy coming towards them. With that, the 2 are turned into little pigs and fall to the ground, unable to do anything. The young woman turns to the crowd and says the game of hide and seek is finally over. Then she unleashes a wave of colored power that begins to extract everyone's souls. The fake ancestor smiles and asks if she thinks extracting souls will help her find him. To keep up his disguise, he pretends his soul is also being extracted and starts screaming for help. His soul complains that he always has bad luck, but the girl tells him to shut up or he'll die. The souls of everyone in the crowd are extracted and float aimlessly around the area. The spirits are confused, not knowing what happened, and wonder if they all died. After inspecting everything, the Lord realizes her beloved is not among those souls. The hero's soul smiles and says he's going to grab the game data while she keeps searching. He then runs towards the large gate, but is shocked by something unexpected in front of him. The Lord appears with red eyes and says she knew his plan, which is why she didn't leave the door open. With a swift move, her soul punches the hero in the face, breaking his disguise. The girl starts to cry with emotion and says it was just as she thought, because she finally found him. Back in his original form, the guy is called Benefactor by the very happy young woman. She says she knows how strong he is, and that his methods are always unpredictable and mysterious. But the girl says he can't imagine how much she prepared to ensure she would capture his soul. Suddenly, the place changes to the realm of infinite reincarnation, and the protagonist is terrified. The Lord warns that no one can escape the cycle, and that the souls of the realm will torment him until he dies. She decides to settle things right then and there, and launches an attack with the souls trapped in the place. The platinum-haired guy laments that he's been forced to this point, and can no longer save his spirit stones. So he uses the ancient soul banner to absorb all the spirits into a large sphere. With a massive explosion, a new muscular companion is summoned to help him in battle. The girl is shocked and asks how he possesses a divine artifact specifically designed to deal with souls. The young woman blushes when she sees an item in his hand, but he says this is the Eternal Soul Banner. She calls him despicable and says that since souls don't work, she'll try another move. The young woman unleashes a wave of purple energy, and the platinum-haired guy on the ground wonders what happened. The spirits of the young men wonder who this guy is, facing the Lord of the Underworld alone. Suddenly, the brute's spirit recognizes him and furiously screams the name Chin Shou. The duo starts fighting again, and another spirit pleads with them not to be impulsive and to stop the fight. The Lord of the Secret Realm's eyes turn red as she prepares another purple energy attack. She then charges with an energy blade, and the protagonist seems unable to defend himself. The guy gets hit several times and complains that he can't withstand her attacks with his current powers. Unexpectedly, the big guy's spirit launches a blue sphere and yells for the hero to just die already. In a cuter form, the platinum-haired guy turns and manages to deflect the attack with the magic banner. He smiles and says it arrived at the perfect time, because now he can test the quality of her power. The hero then combines his blue energy with the girl's purple energy, creating a massive explosion in the area. The girl is confused by the situation and sees him fleeing with the banner in a very strange way. The system explains that practicing dual cultivation alone has very serious side effects. The Lord is furious with the guy's attitude, saying he acted like an animal in front of her. Angrily, she says he deserves to become an animal and hits him with the powerful path of the beast. The guy falls to the ground, feeling the effects of the attack, as the duo of spirits watches in fear. With that, the two ghosts are transformed into spirit pigs and look terrified. The hero says, since they're useless, he'll trade them, and uses the banner to defend himself. Then, the platinum-haired guy charges forward, determined to use a new plan to defeat the powerful Lord. He raises the soul banner and yells for all the spirits to enter the artifact. All the souls from the crowd are sucked into the magical item in a great whirlwind. With a smile, the hero says that with so many souls and his knowledge of the game, he has a chance. The guy claims he now has enough power to fight her and faces the girl. The other spirits say he's a role model to follow, and everyone there respects him greatly. Suddenly, the protagonist ends up falling to the ground in a very silly and clumsy way. He gets irritated and calls the spirits scammers, asking which sect they're from. The girl smiles and taunts him, telling him to use whatever techniques he has left. The guy seems to give up fighting, and with a tired look, asks her to just take his soul. But the spirits scream for him not to surrender, saying there must be another way to win. The young woman hugs him and says he should have done this sooner, and that they will guard the realm together. But the protagonist smiles maliciously, and with a mocking look, stares at the girl. With a grin on his face, he reveals that she has fallen into his trap, and the young woman is confused. Suddenly, his pants fall down, revealing what he had been hiding all this time. He shouts that this is his trump card, and a golden energy blasts the Lord head-on. The spirits are shocked by the bright light, commenting on its size and intensity. One of the ghosts complains that even though they are men, there's a huge difference between them and their brother. The hero challenges her to face him directly and see just how arrogant she can be now. She gets up angrily and prepares a counterattack with her powerful mixed energy. But the Lord screams that he won't succeed and tries to resist the intense golden glow. With that, the girl is thrown backward with her clothes torn, screaming in pain from the impact. The system's helper says it's a good chance, but the guy reveals that the banner doesn't work on her. However, he says he already has a plan, and with a smile, rips something off the soul banner. He then yells the name of the Lord, who is on the ground, and seems to be preparing for the final blow. The guy holds up the item, which glows intensely again, and the young woman is very surprised. With that, a new explosion of golden light occurs, hitting the girl with full force once more. He smiles and tells her to feel the purest yang energy, while the Lord screams in pain from the attack. The young woman cries in shame upon realizing the item used was a piece of men's underwear. The guy reveals that the piece hasn't been washed, and with that, the Lord falls to the ground, completely defeated. The spirits think his final move was cool, but one of them comments that the scene was quite vulgar. For that, the young man's spirit is criticized by the girls, who accuse him of being envious and petty. With the Lord finally defeated, the great gate leading to the final boss at last opens. The protagonist approaches the girl on the ground and says she's still a long way from being able to beat him. He then picks up the soul banner and informs the spirits that their task is over and they can go. With that, the ghosts are released from the magic item and return to their bodies lying on the ground. But the two pigs from the Jang family return to their spiritual form and look very angry. The hero grabs both of them and says their account isn't settled, as they tried to kill him earlier. Not caring about their threats, he yells for everyone to get in and sucks the two into the banner. He gets rid of the troublemakers and says that now no one can stop him from recovering his cultivation. With a determined step, the guy starts walking towards the gate to get his data, but a voice yells for him to stop, and the hero wonders who else dares to stop him now. The serious voice says it doesn't care what he wants to do in this place now, but she yells that he should at least put his pants on first before doing anything else. The other girl scolds him, and embarrassed, he quickly gets dressed to avoid any more trouble. Suddenly, a powerful aura emerges, and the hero realizes it's as strong as Yi Ling's. He wonders how there can be someone stronger than the master of this secret realm. A monstrous figure trapped in a seal says that 500 years have passed since then. The true final boss of the realm appears, its red eyes glowing in the darkness. The seals that bound it begin to break and burn, freeing the creature from its prison. The monster celebrates that the cursed woman has been defeated and that now he is finally free. A wave of dark energy passes through him, and the guy is shocked by so much power being released. He's confused and wonders if there are other masters in this secret realm besides the young woman. The swordswoman calls him perverse and threatens him with the sacred light if he continues his slander. The fallen lord says his goal was to free the monster to destroy the cultivation world. The guy is completely confused and asks what she means by freeing anything. At that moment, a massive red explosion occurs, throwing them both far away with great force. The final boss breaks free from its seal with a terrifying roar and a surge of red energy. The survivors are terrified and ask what that monster is, as they've never heard of it. The skeletal creature then moves forward, its body covered in sinister red flames. Our hero finds the monster familiar, feeling like he's seen it somewhere before all this. Lying on the ground, the Lord asks how long he's going to keep pretending he knows nothing. She then accuses him of being the creator of that creature, and the guy is shocked by the revelation. The system reminds him that this dragon was originally the true final boss of the game. The creature of bone and red flames looks at the pair with its evil and cruel eyes. The platinum-haired guy racks his brain trying to remember where he knows this bizarre being from. The Lord insists that he is to blame, and that it's no use for him to try to hide the truth anymore. She screams once more that the creature's appearance is all his responsibility, and the system confirms that the hero did indeed face that dragon in the distant past. Suddenly, he remembers that he defeated that weakling with a single slap a long time ago. The young woman explains that he didn't deal with the body, and this corrupted it into an undead monster. She says that even with her strength, she and her older sister couldn't defeat it when they found it. The Lord explains that, to prevent more deaths, her sister used the divine sword to suppress the creature, but she alone couldn't contain the immortal dragon, which continued to grow stronger and more corrupt. So, the girl used her soul power to keep the monster suppressed day and night, without stopping. Even with her efforts, the place transformed into a realm of desolate and very dark bones. One of the guys then realizes that the spirits and the beasts were actually from opposing factions. The young woman yells that now it's his fault, because she can no longer stop the world's corruption. The protagonist gets angry at the accusation and seems unwilling to accept responsibility for this. The dragon scoffs at the fallen girl, and the platinum-haired guy realizes she ran off to face it alone. The creature asks if she created her benefactor, but then remembers the name Dao Mingzi. Filled with rage, the monster screams, asking where that guy is because it wants to kill him right now. Our hero is in shock and speechless upon hearing his name called by the great creature. The helper asks what he did because the dragon's resentment has become something tangible and real. The skeletal being says it was expecting an epic battle and was prepared to be defeated. But the monster cries, saying the bastard killed it with one slap before it could even really fight. It complains that it had 9 ways to win, and the hero gets annoyed by such a stupid reason for its rage. The dragon says that if it kills the young woman, it can get out of here to finally torture Dao Mingzi to death. Our hero understands the grudge, and with a smile, tries to negotiate with the monster to let them go in peace. He thinks that not even Yi Ling can beat the dragon, and that he needs to escape in the chaos to find his cultivation. So, he asks the system to check the location of the data again, and the map is updated. The system reveals that the lost data is inside the dragon, and our hero panics at the news. His companions push him into the fight, but he refuses to face that monster alone. At that moment, one of the young men from the crowd decides that in a crisis like this, he must intervene. He draws his sword and tells everyone to take the chance to escape the secret realm while he fights. But his friend despairs, yelling that he will surely die if he does something so crazy. The young man says he is willing to die to protect his brothers and charges towards the great dragon. The other youths are moved by his sacrifice and say they need to flee, but the hero yells that he's not dead yet. With a smile, he thinks that if he intercepts the monster, he'll restore his image with his brothers. He reveals a talisman he got from his grandmother with the strike of an ancient being, perfect against evil creatures. The young man yells for the beast to eat his sword soul talisman, but the dragon seems to not understand a thing. However, the powerful talisman just sticks to the dragon's nose and doesn't seem to have any effect. Then, the young man charges forward with a powerful sword strike, creating a trail of blue energy. The monster is surprised by the force of the attack and is impressed by so much power. At that moment, a light shines in the hero's eyes, as he's had a brilliant idea for the situation. He thinks that if the guy defeats the dragon, he can easily grab the data and take advantage of it. With that, the young man's sword strikes the beast's head squarely, causing a large blue impact. His companions also prepare to fight, impressed by the strength of their friend's blow. The crowd cheers, thinking that their brother's terrible strike has finally saved them from certain death. But the platinum-haired guy finds that sword technique somewhat familiar and seems very suspicious. The dragon says it didn't expect him to come all the way here, saving it the trouble of looking for him. Then, the monster attacks the young man and throws him far away while screaming Dao Mingzi's name in a rage. His friends scream in despair, seeing their brother being attacked by the giant red creature. Suddenly, the hero remembers something important, and the swordswoman beside him is very confused. He recalls that some guy named Yu asked him to refine a talisman, and he just drew whatever on it. The monster roars with anger, and the platinum-haired guy regrets not having drawn the talisman more carefully. Lying on the ground, the young man asks if he looks like Dao Mingzi and tells the dragon to take a good look. The monster screams that even now, he's humiliating it, and the young man doesn't know what to do. The creature yells, "Does it look like I have eyes?" And the hero understands the reason for so much anger. The young man on the ground cries for help and seems to be very afraid of what's going to happen. His friend says they can't just watch his sacrifice, and that if they fight together, they can beat the dragon. But the crowd gets scared, thinking it's impossible to defeat the creature, and saying it's better to run. The dragon laughs at their cowardice and attacks the young man, saying his popularity hasn't improved at all. With that, the creature releases a poisonous miasma that fills the entire place with a green fog. The young man feels his body losing strength and will eventually become a puppet under the dragon's command. He screams that he will get revenge on Dao Mingzi for the humiliation he suffered, but the young man denies being him. Then the dragon begins to control the bodies of the fallen, and the brute gets up from the ground. A huge silhouette appears in the smoke, and the big guy with white eyes seems to be possessed. The man's body attacks the protagonist, who is shocked by the spirit's possession. Our hero wonders what kind of evil magic this is to do something so bizarre. The dragon says it will humiliate him to death, and the possessed big guy stops in front of the young man. The brute yells that he will get revenge on Dao Mingzi for the humiliation he suffered, but the young man denies being him. He approaches the young man on the ground, who yells at him not to come any closer. His friend yells for him to stop, but it's too late, and the big guy advances with a malicious look. A flower grows on the young man's back, and the possessed man grabs him with a look of pure malice. The platinum-haired guy is shocked by the scene and asks if the guy's friend also has that kind of taste. The dragon yells for the other young man to open his eyes, or it will kill him right then and there. The creature laughs and tells everyone to remember well the ridiculous state of the young man named Dal Mingzi. Our hero realizes the beast won't spare them and that he only has 10 uses of his spirit stones left. The Lord, fallen on the ground, says it would be only fair to let him die for the sins he committed. He agrees that a single piece of underwear won't beat the dragon, and the young woman asks why he's so close. With a malicious smile, the guy says that if he adds other clothes, the effect might be better. He then starts taking off the girl's clothes, and she screams at him to stop this madness right now. She says that on top of releasing the dragon, he now wants to humiliate her in such a cruel and perverse way. The young woman cries and asks if he hates the world so much and if he enjoys playing with everyone before destroying everything. He says she's mistaken because he never wanted to destroy the world and holds her tightly. With a serious look, he states that he wants to save everyone there, whether she believes his word or not. The guy says with a determined look that he is going to save everyone there, including her. The girl is completely moved by those words. The scene changes completely, shifting 2,000 years into the past to a place called Fengmen Village. An old man explains that the place is cursed by spirits, or perhaps it's divine punishment for Lord Huang. Furious, our hero punches the old man and yells at him to stop wasting time and just get to the mission. His companion urges him to calm down, but the silver-haired guy just complains about the long-winded dialogue from a simple NPC. So the old man says that if he eliminates the spirits from the village, he'll win the best sword around here. The monk asks why the master would take on such a small job, and the hero's mind immediately jumps to the reward. With a determined look, our protagonist seems to have a plan in mind for the situation. At that moment, they both look up and see two figures on a very tall wooden tower. At the top of the tower, a Taoist master uses a talisman of the Five Thunders method. With that, a powerful golden energy is released from the talisman in a devastating attack. The energy scores a direct hit on a white-haired spirit who screams in pain from the impact. The demon is thrown to the ground, completely defeated by the Taoist master's technique. The creature accuses Lord Huang of causing everyone's death just to buy a position for his son. He screams that the man is now using their money to hire someone else and vows to haunt him forever. But the fat man denies everything, saying they were just lazy tenants who didn't even try. The rich guy thanks the master and offers 3,000 spirit stones as payment for the service. The master says there's no need to send it to the temple and just asks for a spiritual voucher for himself. And so, Lord Huang hands over a large sum of money in the form of vouchers to the Taoist. Suddenly, our hero attacks the master, shouting that he was the old man who stole his mission. The silver-haired guy grabs the rich man, complaining that he traveled all this way just for the mission to be given to another NPC. Our hero realizes he won't get the reward unless he's the one to defeat the evil spirit. All of a sudden, he gets a brilliant idea on how to complete the mission and claim the prize. His monk friend and the rich guy are just confused, having no idea what's going on. He thinks that if he frees the female spirit and then defeats her, he can complete the mission all by himself. With a smile, he winks at the creature and tells her to go cause some trouble, because he'll eliminate her afterward. The creature cries, wondering if he knows of her injustice, and came especially to help her. She thanks her benefactor and prepares to avenge her 59 dead companions. With that, the creature lunges forward, attacking the two men to make them pay for their crimes with their lives. The demon then attacks the entire Huang family, who scream in agony under the power of her vengeance. She shouts that everyone who helped this evil come to pass will not escape her great fury. The monk asks why the master let the female spirit wreak havoc like that. He replies that, at the end of the day, he couldn't care less if the NPCs in the game live or die. Then, a message congratulates Dao Mingzi for unlocking the title of Great Emperor of Fengdu. The system detects multiple spirits in the area and asks if the player wishes to recruit them all. Meanwhile, the creature kneels on the ground, looking exhausted after her great revenge. She thanks her benefactor because she was finally able to avenge the suffering of her entire family. With a malicious grin, our hero decides that now is the perfect time to act and complete his plan. The creature introduces herself, revealing that her real name is Yiling, much to the young man's surprise. She asks her benefactor to eliminate her, as she'll have no regrets even if her soul vanishes. He finds the girl very attractive and thinks that taking her with him would be like killing two birds with one stone. Our hero tells the young woman to get up because he has other plans for her life now. He appoints her as the judge of the underworld to manage reincarnation on his behalf, and a new power emerges. With a smile, the girl says she will repay his kindness with her own life. The guy gets suspicious, wondering what the girl is thinking with that expression. She wonders to herself if, after that Oscar-worthy performance, he still doesn't believe her words. The girl then says that for the good of the world, she'll believe in him one more time. With dark eyes, he holds the girl's hand, and she calls him her benefactor. With a laugh, he starts running, yelling that he found a loophole to escape and calls her a damn woman. She cries for trusting him again, and the guy says he heard every word she said. Back in the present, he says he's going to solve the dragon problem, and the young woman yells about the clothes. He holds up the clothes on a staff and gives the new weapon a ridiculously long name. His companions appear, and one asks if that perverted thing is actually going to work. He sniffs the clothes, saying the aura is powerful, and the girl screams at him not to do that. A colorful energy surrounds him, and he says the power of the wheel of reincarnation has returned. He tells everyone to watch, because with his giant named banner, this is going to be easy. With a single movement, he attacks the skeletal dragon, which screams in fear from the blow. The dragon yells for everyone to see the price one pays for offending the king of this place. The young man who is being held by his possessed friend screams in pain at what's happening. The creature says that thousands of years have passed, and its body begins to fall apart. With that, it finally gets its revenge on Dao Mingzi, and its skull turns to dust. The creature gives thanks for the immortal body, while the young man on the ground shouts that he's not Dao Mingzi. The monster says that now it will turn all living beings into immortal beasts, just like itself. With that, the beast declares that once it controls everyone, it will be the one true king of this world. His companion urges the hero to hurry up, but he says he's waiting for the right moment. With a serious look, the young man thinks that if his plan works, a single blow will decide the battle. He runs towards the monster, thinking that he needs to get close to maximize the attack's power. The creature calls the young woman insolent and says she sealed it to protect her master. The blue-haired girl is surprised and speechless at the accusation made by the great dragon. She shouts that she's not protecting her benefactor, but the innocent people of this cruel world. The monster doesn't care about her answer and lunges forward to attack the girl with a powerful blow. He says that since she likes sealing him so much, she will become his first slave, and then he attacks her. The girl screams in pain from the attack and wonders who she's been watching over all these years. She remembers waiting, hoping he would change, and that she would force his soul to atone for his sins. He thinks that it's the perfect time to launch a surprise attack while she's lamenting that all she got was more deception. With a tired look, she says she's exhausted and that they should just destroy each other. The large skeletal creature is confused by the girl's sudden change in attitude. The other young man points at the hero and tells the dragon to kill the real Dao Mingzi too. With this revelation, the great skeletal beast turns its head towards our protagonist. He brags about his good looks, and the young woman yells that this just proves how narcissistic her benefactor is. The large red creature lets out an evil laugh as it watches the whole mess unfold. The creature can't believe that even now, the girl is still protecting her master. The young woman asks if he's serious, because she's literally telling him to kill the guy. The monster thinks she's just trying to point to a stranger so the real master can get away. She screams, "Are you blind?" And the monster gets angry, asking if it looks like it has eyes. The creature won't let her protect the master, and the hero tells the dragon not to be fooled. At that, the blue-haired girl's eyes widen in complete surprise. The dragon says it turned her into a new body so she can feel absolute despair. At that moment, the young woman realizes she can no longer control her own body. Then, her hand, now controlled by the creature, moves on its own and picks up a sword. The girl charges at the young man on the ground, who screams for her to stop attacking him. With a cry of pain, a large wound is inflicted on the guy lying on the ground. The monster laughs and asks how it feels to injure the master she loves so much with her own hands. She yells that she didn't even hurt him and that she doesn't love him at all. The young woman points at the hero and tells the dragon to just kill the real Dao Mingzi already. The creature says the guy's cultivation is so weak that it can't even feel his presence. The silver-haired man smiles and says the great Dragon King's insight is truly admirable. The monster says it won't be fooled, and meanwhile, the young woman attacks the other guy again. The beast says that if the young man can make it take even one step back, it will reincarnate voluntarily. It says it doesn't fear the real Dalmingzi and tells the imposter to just attack it already. With a malicious smile, the young man says that if that's what he wants, he won't hold back. Our hero uses his 6 wheels of the underworld technique with a powerful attack. The skeletal creature is surprised and wonders what's happening at that moment. The monster questions why it's feeling that sensation again after so long. Then, the large wheel of energy slams right into the beast's skull with a heavy impact. The being is pushed back by the spiritual energy, which it recognizes as Dalmingzi's. With that, the young man attacks the monster, which screams its hated enemy's name with immense anger. The beast calls him cunning for using a substitute to trick it this whole time. The blue-haired girl gets annoyed and yells that he's the one misinterpreting everything. The dragon says this is good, because now they can finally have a truly fair battle. With a smile, our protagonist gives him a friendly warning about what's about to happen. The skeletal creature seems to be furious and ready to fight with everything it has. The hero warns that if it gets agitated, its soul and body will disintegrate even faster. He explains that he just needs to use the banner to expel its spirit from the deteriorated body. Right then, he reveals that he needed Yiling's charm because normal attacks wouldn't work. The dragon's spirit screams and asks why he always defeats it with a single blow. The silver-haired man faces the creature with a serious and determined look, ready to end the fight. The monster's soul refuses to accept defeat, saying that in a fair fight, it would win. The dragon's spirit screams and asks why he always defeats it with a single blow. With a powerful attack, he strikes the dragon's soul multiple times in a row. After finishing the strike, the young man finally lands on the ground, his duty fulfilled. The monster's soul dissipates, and the hero says that fair battles were never his style. In the crowd, a group of girls cheers for Brother Chin's victory with great excitement. One of his companions complains about how he can speak of his shamelessness with so much pride. At that moment, the evil energy that was controlling Yiling finally dissipates completely. The girl realizes that her benefactor didn't deceive her and really did defeat the zombie dragon. Suddenly, the crowd looks up at the sky, frightened by something that's happening. A large blue energy begins to spin, forming a huge whirlpool in the dark sky. With that, the gate of Samsara is opened, revealing a large black hole in the middle of the portal. The souls from the bodies on the ground begin to be pulled towards the newly opened gate. All the souls trapped in that place finally find a path to move on in peace. The people wonder what's happening as all the souls are being absorbed. Yiling wonders how souls that are hundreds of years old can be subdued so quickly. A large spiritual figure appears and asks if Lady Yama hasn't noticed yet. The spirit explains that with the dragon disintegrated, the affected souls also dissipated. The young woman thinks that her benefactor did something good to make up for his past wrongdoings. But the blue figure reveals that Dao Mingzi's plans go far beyond what she imagines. He says that the young man didn't destroy the dragon to infect more spirits and attract souls. With that, the place became perfect for souls to gather and await reincarnation. The spirit reveals that the plan was centuries in the making to give the souls a final rest. The young woman cries as she realizes her benefactor carried this slander for centuries for their sake. The girls in the crowd praise Brother Chin for defeating the dragon, and one offers him her underwear. With hearts in their eyes, they surround him, and the hero thinks they've got it all wrong. He celebrates that with the boss defeated, no one will stop him from recovering his cultivation. At that moment, a golden energy sword emerges from the ground right in front of the young man. He realizes the sword was inside the dragon, and that his cultivation fragments are there. The system congratulates him for defeating the boss and finding the lost game data. He realizes the sword was inside the dragon and that his cultivation fragments are there. He feels his power returning, and the system begins to merge the data fragments. With that, his cultivation advances to the nascent soul stage, and he's relieved by the progress. The system gives him a piece of protective equipment, and he finally finds it useful. Suddenly, the young woman Yiling calls him benefactor with a determined look. She says she knew he wasn't a pervert and that she had misunderstood him before. And with that, the girl throws herself into his arms and promises to never leave his side again. The guy doesn't understand a thing, but enjoys the feeling of having a beautiful girl close to him. At that moment, the gift box he received begins to glow intensely. The system equips the item automatically, and the two are confused by the situation. A golden light envelops Yiling, who looks surprised by the energy. She transforms into a cat girl in a maid outfit and asks why she turned into this. Our hero gets a nosebleed and says with a smile that the equipment is genius. With a satisfied look, he seems to have quite liked the girl's new appearance. Our hero admires the result of the transformation with a smile and a nosebleed. With that, the young woman asks what he did, and the guy gives a thumbs up. The system explains that the equipment has high attributes and can control the user. Our protagonist is shocked and wonders if something so good really exists. Suddenly, the girl glares at him with a furious look, and he says he can explain everything. Angrily, she moves forward and says he doesn't need to say another word about it. But the young woman hugs him tightly, and our hero is surprised by her action. The crowd can't believe their eyes, seeing Lady Yama in Brother Chin's arms like a kitten. Meanwhile, the guy on the ground complains about being run through with a sword. The hero's companion calls him a beast and wonders how he got involved with Lady Yama. With a suspicious look, he wonders if she's planning to kill him the moment he lets his guard down. He thinks to himself that her body, rebuilt by the dragon, is soft and very elastic. The girl says she understands everything now and that they misunderstood the benefactor the whole time. She explains that without a place to reincarnate, the spirits can only wander the world. The young woman praises him for using the dragon to rebuild the cycle and give the spirits a home. He says it's better if only she knows about these things, so as not to draw too much attention. The young man claims that as a master, he has always been discreet and sought to hide his deeds. He thinks he needs to leave before she changes her mind and tries to kill him again. But the moment he tries to leave, the young woman grabs his arm with a lot of force. She says that now that she understands his good intentions, she will help him complete his work. He thinks that this powerful girl is a ticking time bomb, and he needs to find an excuse to escape. He says the land of reincarnation has been rebuilt and asks who will take care of everything if she leaves. She suggests leaving the spirit in charge, since he was already handling everything on his own before. The young man doubts the spirit can manage alone, and the girl agrees that he has a point. So, the young woman creates a pink dog spirit to help the other one with the task. With that, she creates another dog spirit, so he won't get overwhelmed. The girl says that with 3 heads, he'll be able to take care of everything, and the hero is shocked by the idea. She reminds him that he himself said that 3-headed dogs are popular guardians in the West. The girl asks for a name for the place, and the young man realizes he has no choice but to take her with him. He calls the place the underworld, and thinks he needs to trick her to keep her happy. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake, and everyone wonders what's happening. And just like that, a grand palace begins to emerge from the stone ground, glowing with a blue energy. A sign appears in front of the palace, revealing the name of the place to everyone there. The girl is impressed that his words became reality, and he acts as if it's nothing. Suddenly, the other companion appears and separates the two with a swift move. The rival asks if she's trying to prevent their reunion, and the girl denies having any such interest. The swordswoman says the scoundrel still owes her a sword and snatches it from his hand. She claims she only came here to collect the debt he owed her. With the golden sword in hand, she observes it with a serious and determined look. A group of old men is shocked and recognizes the weapon as the Gengi divine sword. One of the old men smiles, saying that with the divine sword their alliance finally has a chance at salvation. But his companions don't seem happy at all about this news. One of the men says they can't keep wasting time and need to act. With that, one of them gathers a large amount of energy and announces the beginning of their plan. The hooded old man says he always knew the leader's disciple would save the alliance. The pink-haired girl comments that if the leader advances, her future position will be secure. The bald man comments on the Grand Elder's loyalty, and he's left completely confused. He then turns to Zhang Liang and asks what he means by that. The bald man smiles and says he's just expressing how unfair all of this is for his colleague. He complains that they gave their blood for the alliance, but the leader isolated herself for a man. The traitor looks outside and says that now that they've tidied up the sect, he questions if they should let her disciple take all the credit alone. At that moment, the Grand Elder grabs him by the clothes with great force. He accuses him of planning a rebellion, but the other denies it and says he wants justice. The hooded man says he will eliminate the threat, and the pink-haired young woman appears to help. But the traitor, in spirit form, asks the wounded elder if he still doesn't get it. The Grand Elder's eyes go wide in complete shock, unable to believe it. Suddenly, a blade pierces the hooded man's chest from behind. The traitor is one of his own companions, and the old man can't believe what he's seeing. The sword impales him completely, showing the severity of the wound. And with that, the Grand Elder and the pink-haired young woman fall to the ground, gravely injured. The traitor says they shouldn't think everyone is a fool, and that the leaders will make the right choice. Lying on the ground, the old man calls them traitors and asks if they've forgotten the leader's kindness. Without pity, one of the rebels steps on the Grand Elder's head with a look of contempt. The other scoffs at kindness and claims that leader Xiao Xiao no longer deserves that position. Zhang Liang says the plan had some hitches, but with their current power, they can control everything. Then the traitor starts yelling with a look full of ambition for all to see. He declares that from this day on, the Zhengtian alliance belongs to the 5 families. Meanwhile, back at the underworld, the new palace is impressive with its grandeur. Our hero feels a squeeze on his arm as the cat girl holds him tightly. He then asks if Yiling really wants to leave the underworld to go with him. The girl explains that her fellow disciples misunderstood him, especially her senior sister. Because of that, she says that if she goes along, she can clear up the misunderstanding with the other girl. But the young man panics, thinking the swordswoman will kill him at the first opportunity. From a distance, his companion watches the two walk away, getting quite suspicious. She thinks that no matter their relationship, she won't let anyone take her money. Then, the blue-haired girl asks why she's suddenly so close to Brother Chin. The swordswoman questions how they got so close, and the other says that was her question. The rival shouts that not even her master talks to her like that, and that the young woman is just a spirit. The protagonist puts on a smug face and thinks his charm is to blame for all of this. The system informs him that outside the secret realm, his contract with the girl in Ran has ended. With that, the pact dissolves in a golden light, and he begins to understand the situation. He celebrates with his arms wide open and shouts that he's finally free from that agreement. Meanwhile, the two continue to argue, and the young man thinks of a way to escape. So, he fakes a stomachache and says he's going to the bathroom to get away from the fight. Back at the other location, we see a boat approaching with a family leader. A subordinate informs him that all the disciples of the Jenkin Alliance have already left the area. With that, the master orders for all of them to be captured, and for any who resist to be eliminated. Then, several swordsmen advance through the area to carry out the orders they received. One of the guards spots our hero running alone and decides to go after him. With a swift move, 2 warriors surround him and block his path. They demand his storage ring and say he will be punished by the Alliance. The young man wonders why they want to arrest him and if his identity has been revealed, but he scoffs at the situation and flips them the bird, saying he's not falling for that. The 2 men get an angry expression and don't like the young man's attitude. Without hesitation, the guards charge at our protagonist with their swords drawn. The blade of one of them glows intensely as it closes in on the unarmed target. Suddenly, the sword pierces his chest, and the young man is shocked by the wound. The guard complains that he has no stones and is even wearing women's underwear. He regrets using his sword on someone so useless, and the hero falls to the ground, defeated. A large explosion of energy occurs, and the invaders shout for everyone to surrender. The hero's companion wonders why the Alliance is attacking and decides to protect the others. Meanwhile, the wounded young man thinks that this is his chance to restore his image. So, he steps in front of the others and releases a powerful wave of purple energy. The younger disciples thank him and praise Brother Yu's impressive sword technique. He holds the pose to look cool but doesn't notice he's been wounded from behind. One of the enemies spots the wound and shouts for everyone to attack that weak point. With that, all the warriors start chasing him, and he complains about their aim. Elsewhere, the cat-eared girl is surrounded by men, and she calls them insolent. With a determined look, the young woman raises her finger and invokes a technique from the underworld. The men are surprised and scared by the large amount of energy she releases, but the technique fails and only transforms the enemies into small star-shaped figures. The men burst out laughing and mock her for using underworld techniques. The girl remembers that her benefactor took the Wheel of the 6 Realms with him, but with a determined look, she decides she doesn't need it to fight. Without hesitation, the young woman lands a hard slap on one of the men surrounding her. The other warriors are surprised by her strength and prepare to attack. They decide to attack all at once, as they realize the girl is very strong. Then, the girl uses a sword technique and creates a large stream of water against them. From a distance, the swordswoman watches the fight and praises the talent of her sister's disciple. The swordswoman is irritated because she knew the Zhang family wanted the divine sword, but she didn't expect them to act so quickly against her faction. The rebel leader praises her, but soon lunges forward to take the weapon from the girl. With that, he prepares a powerful attack called the Celestial Meteor Palm. But the girl is not intimidated and counterattacks with her water technique. Then the two powers collide, creating a massive explosion of energy. The enemy's purple energy seems to be much stronger than the young woman's technique. As a result, the divine sword is thrown far away by the force of the impact. The swordswoman is knocked back and ends up spitting out a bit of blood. The bald man picks up the weapon and says she's too young to control such power. The girl glares at him angrily and asks if he doesn't fear her master's wrath. He scoffs and says the alliance only exists because of the support of their families. She realizes something is wrong and asks where the leaders of the other families are. The villain says it's none of her business and orders his men to arrest them. With that, the swordswoman and the cat girl are tied up together. A guard says he found 2 pigs but couldn't find the hero and the others. The subordinate then asks what he should do with the 2 pigs he found. The leader gets furious and yells for them to be killed for tonight's dinner. The 2 little pigs are terrified when they hear what the villain plans to do. Angrily, he takes it out on the animals and swears he'll get revenge on the protagonist. Our hero's expression changes to pure shock as he realizes the situation. But soon a glint of confidence appears on his face along with a clever smile. Lying on the ground, he mocks the soldiers for thinking they could kill him. The system praises him for faking his death by hiding his consciousness in the system space. With that, the young man hides behind a rock and watches the enemies from a distance. He sees the traitors gathering all the captured disciples there. Noticing the 2 girls tied up, he realizes the Zhang family has already made their move. The system spirit gets excited about the classic hero, saves the damsel scene, but he yells that he's finally free and isn't going to rescue anyone. Suddenly, the assistant says she has located the next cultivation fragment. She reveals that the item is in the secret vault of the Zhengtian Alliance, and he turns to stone. He complains that she didn't tell him sooner, but the girl says he didn't have the key. The young man then remembers that the divine sword is with the old man from the Zhang family. Meanwhile, the rebel leader orders his men to search everywhere. The hero despairs at the thought of fighting 5 Grand Masters alone, so he shakes his head and discards the idea as too dangerous. He says the alliance is dangerous now and the mission can wait until the fighting is over. But the assistant grabs him and asks about the harem he fought so hard to get. He remembers the cat girl, promising to help him on his noble mission. With a new, determined look, he seems to have changed his mind about running away. The young man says he almost forgot his reward, and the assistant gets annoyed at his priorities. He asks if she can get the mythic set, and the girl explains it requires direct contact. He realizes the story can't continue without him entering the Zhengtian Alliance. The hero boasts about being a nascent soul cultivator, and that he can at least escape, but he wonders how to infiltrate now that his fake identity has been discovered. Nearby, one of the Alliance's disciples complains that he's sick of all this. The guard grumbles about having to hold back for so long and being close to exploding. The protagonist and his assistant exchange a mischievous look and see an opportunity. Suddenly, a rock flies towards the guard, who is sighing in relief. The rock hits him square in the head with a very strong impact. The man falls to the ground, and his soul leaves his body as the hero watches the scene. Without hesitation, the young man grabs the guard's soul with a quick move. And with an evil smile, he says he'll borrow his soul and his clothes. Meanwhile, on the ship, the leader of the traitors complains that they haven't found the hero. He wonders how a simple disciple managed to escape with the others. In disguise, our hero thinks that luckily, the mask blocks his energy. The villain gives up the search and calls the young man over to interrogate the prisoners. Another guard calls him, and the disguised protagonist agrees to go along. He thinks that the guard's name is Zhang San and finds the name very common. The scene then takes us to a dark cell inside the villain's ship. Locked in the cell, the swordswoman yells at the traitor, calling him an old, ungrateful dog. Angrily, she curses his family with poverty, but the villain just ignores the girl. Then he attacks her with purple energy, and the girl screams in pain from the blow. As she lies on the floor, he demands to know where the hero and the others who escaped are. The traitor laughs and says a coward like the protagonist is probably already hiding somewhere. But the cat-eared girl shouts that her benefactor is not that kind of person. She claims he will come to rescue them, and the disguised hero wonders if he's been found out. The villain scoffs at her faith, but the girl says she won't misjudge him again. A subordinate reports that they've arrived at the treasure vault, and the leader smiles at the news. With that, the bald man orders them to bring the 2 prisoners along to the location. He hopes the girl is right, and that the hero really does come to their rescue. And so the group arrives at the large metal door that protects the sex vault. The traitor celebrates with a laugh and says the treasures will finally be theirs. He then uses the divine sword as a key, enveloping it in a powerful purple energy. With a quick motion, he fires a beam of light at the door's lock. Suddenly, elsewhere, the sect leader's eyes snap open. While meditating, she realizes that the treasure vault has just been opened by someone. With a loud crash, the metal door opens, revealing the passage to the vault. Zhang Liang celebrates, saying he will be the supreme leader of the righteous cultivation world. But the disguised young man is worried about his search for the lost data. Suddenly, the leader's voice shouts for them to stop, and the bald man turns with an irritated look. With that, a great force hits the ground, creating an explosion that sends the guards flying. At that moment, the sect leader lands on the ground with an imposing and confident posture. Our disguised hero is startled and wonders how she managed to get out of seclusion. The beautiful woman says that no one can open that secret vault without her permission. The traders wonder why she appeared, since she was supposed to be in seclusion over a man. But their leader underestimates her and says there's nothing to fear from a lovesick girl. Then the villain lies, saying they found the sword and came to get treasures to help the alliance. At that, all the traders kneel and beg her to open the vault for everyone. The girl looks uncomfortable and says she can't allow it, even if it costs her her life. The bald man is suspicious of her and thinks that attacking with the other leaders might work. But the disguised young man sees through the plan and decides he can't let them trick her. So he grabs the swordswoman as a hostage and threatens the leader to get out of the way. The powerful woman remains silent, and the traders are surprised by the guard's action. The villain yells at our hero, calling him an idiot for suddenly doing that. Angrily, the bald man lands a powerful kick, sending the disguised young man flying. The leader becomes furious and asks with a threatening gaze what they did to her disciple. Zhang Liang realizes they've been found out and orders his men to attack the woman. The young woman grits her teeth in anger and prepares for combat against her enemies. With that, she releases a powerful golden energy and calls them a bunch of traitors. The leader uses her 5-spirit sword technique against the traitors. The disguised young man tells the elder to help in the fight while he goes for reinforcements. But with a wicked smile, he thinks about letting them wear themselves out so he can steal everything. The assistant complains about him sabotaging his harem, and he says women only slow down his cultivation. He justifies it by saying the sect leader wanted to kill him anyway. Meanwhile, the powerful woman uses another sword technique against the invaders. One of the traitors spots an opening in her defense and moves in to attack the girl. His fire daggers get close to her, and the woman seems surprised by the blow, but she kicks him hard, and the man spits blood while screaming in pain. Zhang Liang is shocked and realizes she has cultivated the legendary golden body. He wonders if the young woman really reached that legendary realm of power. With a determined look, she says no one will cause trouble as long as she's here. Suddenly, the powerful woman notices something and turns her head to the side with a serious look. The traitors are surprised to see the vault door opening behind them. The disguised young man is impressed by the incredible brightness coming from the vault, but he points inside with a shocked face and wonders what all that is. Our hero is completely stunned by what he's seeing inside the room. Inside the vault, he sees various weapons and clothes along with a giant portrait of himself. A plaque indicates that those are clothes worn by the great master of the sect. In a box, he sees a hairpin that looks very familiar to the young man. The young man screams in shock that the treasure room only has things he once used and concludes the woman is obsessed with him. His assistant is also stunned by the scene and comments on the leader's maximum affection for her master. The pink-haired girl congratulates her master, saying the leader must really like him, but the hero replies that he's already noticed. With a look of terror, he claims that she must actually hate him deeply, and the assistant is very confused by this. He then points to a sword and asks if his partner sees the item, but she doesn't understand what's so special about it. A memory reveals he used that fake sword to trick her and get money, and he admits he scammed the fool back then. The young man says he didn't expect her to hold such a grudge as to recover the sword, and his partner suggests maybe she felt guilty. But the disguised protagonist thinks her idea is complete nonsense and glares at her, annoyed. The assistant tries to argue that he did everything to help her, and she wouldn't confuse things. He then asks how she explains the toothpick in the box, and the system girl doesn't see the problem. In another flashback, the apples he bought got squashed, and he lied that it was a special candy, and the young woman seemed to really like the gift. The hero says that even the system wants to beat him up, and it would be a miracle if she ever forgave him. That's why he decides he can't be discovered and starts looking for the fragment to escape, and the assistant calls him a coward. Then, the pink-haired partner activates her system eyes to begin the search for the item. She says she has good news and bad news and asks which he wants to hear first, but the young man just wants to know what happened. The good news is that the system fragment is indeed in the treasure vault, and he asks what the bad part is. But upon scanning the room, she discovers that all the objects are emitting the fragment's signal, and the hero is in shock at the revelation. He asks if he needs to take everything, and the partner says, more or less, and that maybe a special method is needed to unlock the data. The young man complains that there's too much stuff for his storage space, and the assistant tells him to watch his language. Suddenly, a laugh is heard from outside, and the protagonist is startled by the sound. The old trader charges in, shouting that the Alliance's vault should belong to all the families. With a look of surprise, he finally understands the whole situation and what was going on. The bald man now understands why the woman didn't want anyone entering that place. He didn't expect the secret treasure to be the demon's inheritance, and our hero regrets that the girl didn't stop him. But the young man thinks that maybe he can escape from there without anyone in the room noticing. Suddenly, the old trader appears right in front of our disguised protagonist. With a fake smile, the hero says the patriarch arrived just in time and that he has already disabled all the traps. But the bald man calls him a traitor and attacks him with purple energy as the young man realizes the fight has begun. Then, the villain uses his celestial twilight flame technique against the young man. To the old enemy's surprise, the blow doesn't seem to have any effect on the disguised young man. A giant golden sword appears out of nowhere and protects our hero from the bald man's attack. The villain wonders how a slave can control a treasure, and the young man says the items recognize their master. Outside, the sect leader uses her evening rainbow technique against the traitors. With that, a powerful attack hits the enemies and throws them far away with great force. One of the traitors begs the patriarch to use the divine weapon because they can't fight anymore. With a dark aura, the disguised young man asks if everyone saw that, and the old man is confused. The scene then shows the powerful woman preparing for combat against the enemies present there. The original hero complains that his priority should be the girl and not the sex rebellion. Our hero proposes a truce and says they shouldn't let outsiders take advantage of their fight. The bald man agrees with the idea and starts a countdown for them both to stop fighting. With a determined look, our hero finishes the countdown for the attack. Then the two attack each other, and the protagonist yells for the miserable old man to just die already. At that moment, the sect leader recognizes the young man's attitude and realizes it's really him. With that, she uses her sword technique and creates a powerful celestial jade opening. The hero feels the energy of the blow and complains that the old man has gotten him into big trouble. The villain decides it's not worth dying there and thinks about running to save his life. The woman's powerful attack hits the ground, and the bald man tries to escape the massive explosion. But the traitor is hit by several blades of purple energy during his escape. The power of the blow hits the Alliance's peak and creates a huge column of light in the sky. Far away, some disciples see the light and wonder what's happening at the site. Meanwhile, the Alliance's cavalry rushes quickly towards the great commotion. A soldier announces that the leaders have declared martial law because of all the traitors. With that, all disciples are ordered to return to their rooms immediately. But some young men protest and ask by what right they are doing that. Suddenly, an elder appears and asks the young men to calm down, promising to lift the law soon. One of the disciples recognizes the old man as the powerful elder of the Chu family. The elder says that if the young man knows him, he should listen to his advice carefully. The young man then introduces himself as a new member of the Yu family and greets the old man, but a beam of red light cuts through the air and hits the young disciple by surprise. With that, the young man from the Yu family screams in pain while the others watch the scene in horror. The young man from the Yu family falls to the ground, lifeless, after the surprise attack from the old enemy. The elder says he's wasted enough time and orders his men to kill anyone from the Yu and Zheng families. His soldiers agree and advance towards the enemy family's rooms with their swords drawn. Another old man watches and thinks that success or failure will depend on the family leader. Back at the vault, the wounded bald man understands why the disguised young man was acting strangely. Then the villain accuses the leader of having a relationship with a servant of his family, and the hero is shocked. The protagonist calls him a liar and says the old man just wants to see him in trouble with the girl. But the leader doesn't care about the accusation, and the young man doesn't understand her reaction. With a quick movement, the traitor removes the sword from his own chest with a serious look. A dark energy begins to flow from the weapon into the old enemy's body. He says his celestial black flame can take all the treasures for his own use. The purple flame merges with the treasures and creates an even more powerful energy. Suddenly, the system announces that the young man has successfully collected a fragment. Our hero realizes he can obtain the fragments by extracting his mark from the objects. With a wicked smile on his face, he finally understands what he needs to do to win. The bald man uses the fallen celestial flame cut and attacks the sect leader with everything he's got. But the powerful woman's sword manages to block the enemy's blow with ease. The villain is surprised to see his attack defended by her so calmly. The girl thinks that she trained for years to defeat the demon and won't be beaten here. Our hero smiles at the situation and seems to have a plan to come out on top in the end. So our hero throws several items and tells the leader to use them all at once. A bit awkwardly, the villain catches the treasures that the disguised young man tossed to him. With that, the villain envelops the items with his powerful celestial flame energy. The bald man celebrates the effectiveness of the treasures and launches them at the powerful woman. Several notifications pop up, and the hero celebrates how easy it is to recover his cultivation. With a dark aura, the disguised young man asks if everyone saw that, and the old man is confused. With an irritated look, the powerful woman shouts and asks what he intends to do. The hero plays dumb and asks if the sect leader is talking to him. Without hesitation, the girl advances and says she would recognize him even if he turned to ash. With a touch on his forehead, the leader breaks his disguise, and the hero laments being caught.